it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited. It is reveal day for the Not Too Shabby Shop's spring and summer release. Jamie does have a rewards program in her shop where you can earn points and get stuff. It's super cool. There's also a discount code N2S10 will get you 10% off. Here are the super adorable, cutesy stamp sets. They are all drawn in a very similar style, so they can mix and match. And I'm just pointing out all of the ones that I actually did use in my cards for the entire release. Today I'm going to be showing you one card, but I did play with all of the sets. So this is the stamp set I'm featuring, and there was the little bunny, and this is how we got to that little bunny. So I watercolored him with my, these are General's watercolor pencils, and I have had these since I was probably, I'm going to say 13, maybe 15. I used to be in a 4-H group where we learned all sorts of artistic things. And in my drawing class, the teacher had us pick up pastels, which I have some chalk pastels that are in pencils. And then we had to pick up graphite pencils for coloring in black and white. And then we also picked up these General's watercolor pencils. And these are actually Kimberly brand, but General's, I don't know, maybe General's owns Kimberly's. I don't really know, but they're pretty old, and they are a set of 12, and I really need to practice my watercoloring, so I decided to color up the entire release with these pencils. So you'll see them in every one of my videos. I did this same thing. I just pulled out the coloring for each of my projects so you could watch me do it. I used a paintbrush this time. A lot of times when I watercolor, I use a water brush, and I thought we should graduate to using big girl stuff, and I got out a paintbrush. I do have a little tiny bowl of water on the side there that I'm dipping my brush in and cleaning it off, and then kind of making sure that there's hardly any water on my brush. I think that this was one of my better watercolor experiences. When I'm coloring on this paper here, this is Canson XL watercolor paper. I used a really, really, really light hand when I was coloring with these pencils. And then I just blended it out with the water brush, or with not a water brush, Renee. You used a real paintbrush with a paintbrush. And then these were heat embossed. Before I started, I heat embossed the whole entire paper so that there's the little wells for everything to fit in. And I'm brand new at watercoloring, really. I mean, I just told you I've had these pencils for the majority of my life, but I don't really ever use them very much. You can tell by how much they've been sharpened, which is not very much. And then I, of course, colored everything I wanted to color, and then I pulled out some pattern papers, and I wanted to paper piece certain parts of these images, like the umbrella. So what I did is just lined up my stamp so that I would get the part that I wanted on each particular part of this colored paper. It's kind of a gradient paper, and I really liked that I could get 3 different tones for the 3 different spots in this umbrella. And I just stamped that with my ink on 3 blackout ink, and then I did shade these with my Copic markers, my C1 and C3, and I just or C0 and C3, and I just blended it out just a little bit. It is not, alcohol marker paper, but the shading is just fine. I almost always shade my pieces when I paper piece. It just adds to the dimension. Paper piecing itself adds a lot to an image and dimension, but when you shade those pieces, it adds so much more. And I try to always shade them before I put them on. Sometimes it's hard to get in those tiny little areas with a Copic marker, or any marker in general, or even a colored pencil. And then I try to go around the outside with black marker just to kind of hide all of the rough edges, and if I don't have things lined up exactly. And you'll see on this umbrella, it was really good. And there's the embossed edges there, and these paper pieces kind of fit inside. But when I got to the third piece, it wasn't exactly cut perfectly. There was kind of more of a gap than I wanted, so I just kind of pushed it and filled in that gap just a little bit better. And then I trimmed everything out, and we're back to the little bunny we started with. So these are the pattern papers that I chose to make my card with. They're from Pink and Main, and so is that little strip that I used to do his umbrella. It came out of the same pattern paper piece here. And then I kind of trimmed this green and blue gradient piece because I wanted a little scene, and I wanted it to look like I had ink blended this, and I'm cheating, but I wanted it to look like grass and sky. And then I trimmed some black cardstock down for some mats. And then I did all of my die cutting off screen, and there was quite a bit of it. I pulled out the Avery L's picket fence dies and grabbed the flowers and the butterfly and the leaves from that one. The cloud is also from that, and that's cut out of the same watercolor paper. And then I used a Pink and Main scalloped edge die to cut some black cardstock to trim this little green and white polka dot, which is actually the back of that plaid. And it goes together so nicely. And then the circle, I cut the actual circle with a Nellie's die, and then I cut the scalloped circle with a Stampin' Up scalloped circle die. I don't even know what it's called. I don't really have much Stampin' Up stuff, but I really liked their layering circles, so that's what I have. And I wanted more of a border than what the circle in that set offered, so I just pulled my Nellies out. In that cloud, again, I'm not sure if I just said it or not, but that came from the picket fence, Avery L picket fence die set. It's got like a grass border and a picket fence, of course, and cloud, and it's got some other cute stuff. So then I pulled out a sentiment and decided where I wanted to put it after I kind of laid all my pieces out. And before I got too far, I poked holes in my little flowers that I decided to use. And I am going to put little tiny brads in the center. I've had these brads in my stash for quite a long time. They are from Michaels. They're just little white brads. I think yellow ones would have looked great too, but I didn't have 3 yellow ones. I had 2 yellow ones. So I went with white, and I think that it's fine. But those little details, they make all the difference in this card. They'll kind of ground the scene, and even though the flowers aren't going to end up on that panel that kind of represents the scene, they're going to go right underneath the grass area. So that's kind of where flowers would be anyway, and it kind of visually looks like in the scene there are flowers. So before I got too far and glued anything down, I wanted to make sure that I got my sentiment where I wanted it. And this cute little sentiment is so adorable and dainty and perfect for these images and this tiny little scene. It says, "I'm here, rain or shine." And this little butterfly also came from that same Avery L set. And I just kind of folded up his wings away from his body just to add a little dimension. And I started to glue everything down. I adhered the strip with the Pink and Main border, and then I added my little scene, and then I popped up the circle that the bunny is going to be on. Now this circle is from the same pattern paper where the ink blending is from. It's just a little bit different area, so it's more of a brighter green. I thought that would work really well to highlight our little bunny with the umbrella, who I think is super adorable. And then I seen he was going to hang off of the image circle there, so I just added a little foam dimension so his umbrella didn't get bent. And then I glued down the little butterfly and added my flowers here. Now I did trim off the ends of the brads off camera just with my pretty heavy duty shears that I kind of keep. The ones that I fussy cut with, I don't know, they're old. They're kind of reminiscent of the Tim Holtz scissors. I've had them for, I don't know, 10 years or more. They have a hard handle though, so they're not exactly like his, and they're not serrated. I don't have his scissors, but I I'm guessing, I think those are the differences. And then I used a white gel pen after I adhered the little flowers down just to add a little bit of highlight to his umbrella and his little boots, because I thought they needed the little shine lines. And then grab my card base, and I needed to stamp something in the inside, and there's this cute little boot image in here that has like flowers sticking out of it. Super country and adorable. Oh, it's an umbrella. Yeah, an umbrella that's sticking out of it. I think flowers too. And then I adhered my panel down to my card base. And I really do like how this card came out. I thought it was really sweet and pretty. And because all those papers came out of the same paper pad, they really coordinate well. Off screen, I did add a little bit of shimmer to the umbrella and to the cloud I'm featuring. And there was the little bunny, and this is how we got to that little bunny. So I watercolored him with my, these are General's watercolor pencils. And I have had these since I was probably, I'm going to say 13, maybe 15. I used to be in a 4-H group